Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Sarah and I make videos about moving, running an online store, vintage shopping, and discovering the city of Philadelphia. So today I wanted to talk about Kimi, and it is an HBO production. Do with that what you will. For me, HBO feature films can be either a hit or miss. Kimi is about a young woman who, during the course of doing her job, which is she's supposed to listen to audio clips for irregularities, and one day while she's at work, she thinks that she hears what to her sounds like a crime being committed. So there's that. In addition to doing all the things that she needs to do to verify her finding, we come to learn that she is agoraphobic, that she never leaves the house. So we're following her during her normal routine, which, she gets up early, she exercises, she goes through her morning routine, she goes to work, she has her evening routine. When this happens and she reports it and nothing happens, there's no response, she decides to pursue the issue further and leave her house to go to the on-site office and speak to someone in person, because she is very sure about what she heard and the nature of what she thinks the circumstances around that were. So her world is very contained, and we get to see that. We get to see what it's like for her to live with this condition, what it's like for her to leave. What was her genuine motivation for leaving the safety and the familiarity of her home to go to an office building and speak about something that, as we learn, turns out to be very personal to her. That's when things get weird. First of all, this is a real suspense thriller movie. Thriller and suspense gets thrown in with other genres like horror thrillers or crime thrillers. In this case, this is a solid thriller film. So someone who is going through their normal day-to-day routine gets pulled into a situation that causes all of these unexpected developments, twists and turns and challenges and new characters coming into play. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Unsane with Claire Foy. This is very much in that vein of the idea of paranoia and mental illness and how that may alter your perception of reality, and maybe you didn't hear what you thought you heard, and it's like, well, maybe I did hear what I heard, and people around her sort of taking the opposite position and her having to push back and insist, and the response to that being something that sounds crazy but is actually happening to her. She goes to the office to speak to a manager, to speak to a supervisor, to escalate the situation. She grows uncomfortable, they make her wait a really long time, and her personality is a little socially awkward. She spends a lot of time by herself, in her home, so that makes sense. But she's also speaking very purposefully and is cutting through a lot of the small talk some of the characters try to use to distract her. She cannot be distracted. She came here with a purpose. She's a very purposeful person, which I really liked about her character. She's like, I don't leave my house because danger is out there. And she's not wrong. She's extremely smart, extremely observant, and makes a lot of observations about the world around her. It's very clear that emotional things, that's not her jam, but that doesn't make her character less relatable. So as she's going through this and you realize that it's not in her mind, it's not something that she's imagining, it's something that's like spilling over into reality where she's literally being chased down the block by men in suits, that you come to realize there is a conspiracy at work here, and how what she heard is related to that, we learn over the course of the movie. Because there are only a few different settings, the cast is very small, the cinematography is very energetic. When she's traveling out of her apartment to the office, we are right here. This was filmed, I guess, acknowledges COVID, so she's wearing a mask, and it could be because of COVID, or it could be because germs and whatnot, and her leaving the house. We get to be right here so you can see how nervous and how anxious she is throughout the entire process. The way that she walks, the way that she moves, the clothes she chose to wear, and her being very purposeful about how she's spending her time, like going directly from A to B to C, back to B to A. It feels kind of natural for people to have noticed the fact that she don't leave the house. You know, in a lot of other movies, someone who is agoraphobic or a shut-in, there's like piles of newspapers, you know, their homes are filthy or sprawling so that they, you know, you can see examples of all of the neglect of their lives around. In this case, she's in a loft apartment, like a modern loft. It's neat as a pin. Nothing is neglected in her home as far as the care that she's put into it. You know, she doesn't appear to have the typical issues that affect someone who has her condition on film. As we move forward, like, her instinct is to go home. And we're like, but girl, what you gonna do when you get home? She's developing a plan, which I really appreciate about her character, because for a person who, I'm not gonna say a regular person, for someone else in this situation, they might be so bowled over by everything that's happening that they can't focus. Her mind moves in a way where she's like steps ahead of what she's actually doing, which I really liked about her character, because it set the viewer up to be surprised when she did something unexpected, or there was a twist in the story and the way that she responded to it. It has the thrills, it has the suspense, it has the emotional connection, it has interesting, unexpected characters, and an interesting storyline. The perspective of the opening scenes, how we meet her, going back and forth, her trying to, her conducting more research and trying to find out the source of the feed, which was very interesting outside of the terrible circumstances. The entire story felt very authentic and believable. And sometimes in thriller suspense films, they go so far into conspiracy that once you tip over too far, it creates a plot hole of its own, and it's difficult to believe that circumstances would allow for something like that. So in this case, it stayed contained and it stayed believable and relatable. I would recommend Kimi if you're into like suspense, thrillers, crime drama-y kind of things, conspiracy kind of movies. I would give it a 3 out of 5. I felt like there were some moments that kind of dragged along in the story and the character development, but otherwise, yeah, I would recommend it. So what did you all think of the movie? Have you seen it? I was looking for something in the vein of a movie like Fallen, and this one came up randomly to me. They are not related. Search algorithms specifically for movies relate certain movies together, but I hadn't seen it, and I was interested in seeing the story after I watched the trailer. So I'll make sure to link the trailer below so you guys can check it out. And yeah, please let me know what your thoughts are about the movie, if you liked it. It is like a compact movie, so I think it's like an hour and a half. So, you get your dose of suspense and thrills for the day. Thank you so much for spending your time here with me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.